And we're live. Look at that. It's
Yo,
another week.
yes it is.
Uh DevOps Days Boston. That's a throwback there.
Yeah,
Nice
that
sweater.
2017.
Yeah. Listen, I've
Um,
done a few podcasts talking about whether or not DevOps is dead, which is kind of funny because I don't think it is. But it seems like the new term is AI engineer. Have you caught a sniff of this? Like
oh God.
SRE, DevOps, it
Okay.
seems to be, yeah. AI engineer seems to be the thing
Hmm.
that I'm seeing these days. Is that what you're seeing in your
I hope
travels?
not.
No. The job market's interesting in that it feels like I've used the word shibboleth before, but it's like a word that indicates that you're in the in group, and it feels like
Yeah,
AI engineer. As weird as that feels to me to say, seems to be the new term,
yeah.
or like the AI enabled engineer. I'm not sure what it means. This coming from somebody who literally just did a wrap up for the State of AI Engineering podcast just a
Hmm.
moment ago. So like we put our line in the sand too, but I think we did as a result of looking around maybe at the industry to figure out where things are going. And I'm not going to say the name's going to stay, but it does feel like it's stuck for a minute. It's been like that for a year and a half. It
Hmm.
feels like, and I kind of want to blame Swix at Latent Space for creating the AI Engineer Conference,
Yeah,
which became a hit because there really wasn't anything else of quality
right.
out there. Sorry to all the
Yeah,
other conference runners,
a
but it definitely came in.
I think it's AI engineer that is that the one I saw a bunch of videos from, like from Matt Pocock or Popock.
Mm,
I saw a video from him. I think it was AI engineer. Like, was there one recently,
yeah,
like a month ago?
there
Or
was in Miami. I'm just trying to see if Matt
okay,
was there. Maybe not the last one, but yeah, my understanding is Matt was at one of them as well.
yeah,
And it's great on my end as someone who's not gone to any of them because they drop all the recordings as
yes,
well as like I think last time they had like a little vector database as well, so I could start like putting everything into a database and creating my little Obsidian. I don't even know what you call these. Is it memory
yes,
wiki, local LLM, whatever.
right.
Obsidian just likes to put everything in this massive graph, which is super handy, and then I just tell my agent to go find it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I was impressed with the the presentations I saw because it seems to be the only conference I mean the only conference talks I've ever seen that were useful.
Right. It's an
I mean,
engineering conference. It's in
yeah,
the
I mean,
name, right?
so many
Yeah.
are not. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, I
Yeah.
mean, I think of any of the presentations, even the presentations that I've given at
Same.
reInvent, I wouldn't say they're that useful. I mean,
Right.
I was like, okay, interesting. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I got to see this. I can ask a question to the talk speaker, but not useful.
Right.
Um, yeah, and this was actually, I mean, that one I watched Matt, whatever, Pocock,
Pocock. Yep.
Pocock. Um, I keep thinking, well, it can't be Pocock. That's the name of the company that makes racing shells, rowing shells. So, but it is Matt Pocock. Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, I just looked, and yeah. Um,
So
yeah.
so I've watched I'm not gonna say all of these, but like
Yeah.
often I will have their videos on in the background.
Yeah.
Or the Latent Space podcast. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm propping Swix up quite a bit here, but I really think it's well warranted because
I have not I mean, I was listening to his
yeah,
podcast for a while, but I just
Latent Space.
yeah, I don't anymore. Are they
I would say it's gotten better.
okay?
And before it was kind of like the content was always good. Don't get me wrong. I always thought the content was good, and it might take a bit to like find that needle in the haystack
Yeah.
point or like little fact that you need, but there was always something, which is great. That it's like more than I can say about this podcast, for example. We're trying, folks. We're
Exactly.
trying, but
I
like
mean,
you want to have that one little something that they get out of it
yeah.
of value. The only thing I'd say about the earlier ones is that I thought the quality wasn't great, and I'm not sure if they're renting out a studio now that
Mm,
helps. But like the studio they're in is like all SM7Bs. Even when they're on the
mm,
road, they will go into like like a podcasting studio at the event or what have you,
Right.
and the quality has been top notch.
Mm.
Now that said, there have been a couple speakers recently that are a little bit more marketing than engineering, but this is
Yeah.
a latent space podcast. I mean, that's bound to happen. What I have not noticed on the AI engineer side is like that move to marketing. They've got little 15-minute breakout sessions, lightning sessions, where you're going to have people who are just trying to, talk shop about their company and how do you buy their product. That totally
Right.
makes sense. But in terms of the longer content for the breakout sessions, like I found it's pretty high signal and noise ratio. And
Yeah.
and like you said, like that's very, very rare.
Yeah.
And as a result, it means I keep coming back for more. And I would love for Datadog Dash to be this high caliber. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything bad about Dash. It's just like I crave this kind of content. And I think
Right.
before there might have been, is it it's not Scale, it started with V. It was an O'Reilly conference. Sorry, it's dropped my mind for some reason. It was like the large install conference. But anyway, that was the one that I would like literally pay to go back and watch the DVDs instead of going,
Right.
because I just got so much value out of it.
Right.
And it feels like when O'Reilly stopped doing conferences, there was a gap basically. There wasn't that conference for engineering content. And ACM tries. I've been an ACM member for years, but SIGGRAPH is not cutting it. They just don't have that conference of that ilk where you can get people who can speak and maybe I'm throwing shade the ACM way, but also have the technical chops. Like that combination is hard to find, and we do have speakers in the community who do it, but it's difficult to find that. And in some cases on the ACM side, it could be. I think you and I, if we had some time with them, we could coach them a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. But it's like watching paint dry, and the talks are so technically interesting but so poorly delivered that it's often it just
and
it
it's
really
so much
help.
name. I mean, like for the ACM stuff, it's name dropping. Like, let me
of course
let me list out all the names of people that I might have read at least one word of their paper.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that sarcastic, but it is important in academia to cite your sources and don't just pretend you came up with an idea on your own. I get that part, but you're right. It does not help with the proceedings. It makes it very dry as a result. It's like that long, it's like a whole talk starts with the thank yous, but the thank yous are half the talk. I mean, that doesn't really help. Can't recommend AA Engineer.
I remember
it's awesome.
when I was at Datadog and with getting ready for some of the talks or getting ready for the presentations or getting ready for the event, I would often suggest, well, it would be great if we could get people in to like do a run through of their presentation. Like, no, we can't do that. Even internal people, we can't. I mean, and at least for some of the ones I went to, where you're watching them just stand behind their laptop and use like one finger to press the video and not even pretend that they're typing. It's like, oh, here I am typing away at this thing, and as you can see by the fact that my hand is way over here, it's like, come on.
I will say, like, listen, this is a bit inside baseball, but on the what do you call it? It's like first party conference thing. There's always like that area where you give your product managers or your product marketing managers like a place where they can talk about the features they worked on. Cause it's like, it's important. They've worked a year probably on multiple features. And this year, I'm doing, and I'm helping them go through their presentations. And maybe this is a bit of my ego, but like I feel like there's so much better this year as a result. And I'm sure they just would have gotten better on their own. You know what I mean? Like it probably had nothing to do with me. But we do have the opportunity to dry run some of even that content now, which I think is fantastic.
Okay.
And it's not that, again, it's not that I think they need it, but I think who needs it is the audience. And what I'm doing a lot of the time, sorry, I'm just fixing my shoes here. What I'm doing a lot of the times as an audience member is like, just sort of like dying inside a little bit. When you see the big vendors, like, well, sorry, I'll say the names, but like the HP, the IBMs, the Dells get up on stage and they're talking about internal projects that they've got that are really interesting and they want you to try them. But often the presentations just aren't good because they're attacking it by like, here's a feature we've got. Here's another feature we've got. Oh, have you heard about this feature? And like a lot of times in the audience, what I want to hear is I've got 5 problems that are stuck in my head right now. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, but really I'm thinking of those 5 problems. And if you happen to hit the roulette of the problem that I want, like amazing, this is going to be the best presentation ever. If you don't, I'm probably just going to walk away. And I'm not alone. I feel like everyone in the audience is that same way. And what I'm trying to do when I'm in these is think that way. Like, what kind of problems would people have right now? And it's hard actually. It's tough
Yeah.
if you're not in the Gen AI space on a regular basis, trying to build, I don't know, maybe it's a to-do app, maybe it's a weather app. Like everybody's got their own app or like maybe a forms SDK, like the things that everybody comes up with. Maybe you're making your own programming language, but when you're going through this, you're going to hit a lot of sharp corners
Yep.
because this is very much an emerging market, and as a result, there's a lot of problems, and it's difficult, I think, for a product manager or product marketing manager who's not talking to clients on a regular basis to like surface what they are and then talk to the audience about the problems as opposed to just talking about your feature list because it's
Yep.
difficult. Anyway, it's hard, but I think we're striking a good balance there. And I'm starting to see this at other conferences as well. And I'm not sure if again, I don't know if Datadog's leading the way or what have you, but we're trying to make things that are a little bit more engineering focused, even when it's on the
Yeah.
product side. Or if they want to talk about a product, bring in a client and have the client
Yeah.
talk about how they use the product or that feature or what have you.
Yeah.
Seems to be working. And
Yeah.
I hope it works better. And I'm seeing it work at other companies as well. And that to me, I don't know, like when I go to a conference, there's like dry zones, I guess,
Right.
or areas of less interest to me. One of them is going to be that vendor hallway full of Rubik's Cubes and squishies and flashy pens, and maybe some red fedoras or swords or what have you. That's awesome, but often it's just not for me. The other is like the quote unquote product theater or where they're doing like those sort of pitches, basically.
Hmm.
And typically I'll stay away from it there as well. And it's loud. They have to shout because they've got their own mic system and stuff like that. I just don't get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah.
And the last one, it's unfortunately the conference itself. When it's like 3 tracks or something like that, I can't attend all 3 of the tracks. So I
Yeah.
end up having to pick one. In the past,
Yeah.
it would mean like, well, you're not. There's no way to get that knowledge back. And what I'm
Right.
loving these days is that people are recording them, putting them up on YouTube, but also giving
Hmm.
them transcripts. In the case of
Hmm.
Swix, like actually giving me like essentially the startings of a vector database I could start
Right.
putting the stuff into. And that to me is like not only where we're handling like the boost, hopefully a little bit better,
Hmm.
but also going into the product theater and then making sure the actual content that I've missed I can get access to. It's sort of changing the way conferences are. And I like it actually as somebody
Right.
who generally does not want to go to a tech conference because there's little value in it for me. Aside from the people are great, don't get me
Right.
wrong.
Right.
But in terms of the content itself, if there's no value, like I just can't justify taking that out of my budget for the year to go
Yeah.
to a conference where the signal noise ratio is wrong. Anyway, not a glowing recommendation for AI engineer, but that's probably
Hmm.
where I'd end up. And if not, then I'd end up at SIGGRAPH just because that's my default. So one of the
Yeah.
two would be like that one conference a year that I land at.
I mean, originally we came to this because of the DevOps Days
DevOps
shirt,
Days.
and I think
Yes.
For a long time, DevOps Days was for most the default and the recommended way of setting up one of
Right.
these conferences is a single track,
Right.
and a few places like the ones that I've been involved with. Unfortunately, they decided to go with multi-track,
Okay. Of
and
course.
to have it in a large conference center with lots of rooms so they can have multi-track event. And so Seattle and Boston both did that. And
Wow.
I think the first of the single track events that I've ever been to was Monotorama in
Okay.
Portland. And that was fantastic. But
Phenomenal.
the
Yeah.
the risk there is that one really bad talk, and there's always a really bad talk, especially if it's early on in the day, people are gone because it's there's it's tough doing one track means that you're gonna lose. I mean, then the other danger is 2 tracks, and there's gonna be 2 talks that are equally as good at the same time. But the problem is that it's
Or you
not.
pick the bad one,
Yeah,
which always seems to be
yeah,
a case for
right,
me.
exactly, yeah, exactly.
And I don't have the heart to like leave the room. Maybe it's the Canadian
Yeah,
in me, but like I can't stand up when
yeah,
someone's talking. I'm
yeah.
just not that guy.
So
Ah,
yeah.
I do miss DevOps days like as an organization, and
Hmm.
I'm not sure if AI days has the same bring to it or
Hmm.
is something that we want, but it does feel like the community organizing
Yep.
conferences what was a good thing. I'm
Hmm.
just not sure if like if this term or title or what have you is going out of favor, then what would come in its place?
Right.
What would the next thing be? Because it
But
feels like DevOps as a goal is kind of like
right.
thinking about engineers, like taking engineers to
Yeah.
heart. And if they're not quote unquote DevOps engineers, then they're probably
Yeah.
something else. If it's not a job title, then
Right.
are they still doing DevOps as AI engineers, or what does that need to?
But putting
Anyway,
on a conference, I mean, if you're as a
oh, I'd
community
never do it.
event is
Yeah.
hard. I mean, it's expensive. And
Yes.
I remember the reason I got involved with Boston was
Hmm.
the year I got involved, the entire organizing committee group was a brand new. Nobody had done it before. It was all brand new people because everybody on the previous year said, I'm not doing this again. It was too stressful for them because they were for DevOps days, you know, if even if you're a new group setting up
Hmm.
a conference, you can always go to the parent org and they will sign the
Right.
contracts for the conference center. But the Boston group didn't know that, and so
Oh,
when they signed for the hotel space for 2 days, they were personally
yes.
signing that they are going to pay personally the five of them, and you know the costs for the hotel what came to about $100,000 for the 2 days,
Wow.
um, and the cost for the internet came to another $60,000 for the 2 days, and they were like the best prices. They were the cheapest place to do it, um, uh, and uh, and so I mean, if you have that, and you know, with DevOps days, with a lot of conferences, um, you know, you don't know until just a few days before the event if anyone is going to show up because you know there's a
Right.
few people buying tickets ahead of time, but for the most part, everybody buys their ticket the day before, and
Last minute. Yeah.
it's so stressful.
Yeah. What gamble? I could not.
Yeah,
This has so much nope written all over it. It's just
yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
no. Even attending a conference is a stretch for me. But like you mentioned, conference Wi-Fi, which I think a lot of
yeah,
people take for granted, and it often will fail, for
yeah,
example. But just imagine going to a conference with no Wi-Fi, like,
yeah,
and no one thinks about it. And then people will laugh when there's like a Wi-Fi sponsor. I'm trying to think of.
oh
I
yeah,
where like Google was a Wi-Fi.
yeah,
It might have actually been Dash, and people's like, why do you need a Wi-Fi sponsor? It's like, yeah, well, you lesson learned here.
yeah.
It's not cheap. I actually didn't
No,
realize it was that expensive. Like, not cheap at all.
yeah. With DevOps Days Boston, we held it at a place called the Cyclorama,
Okay,
in Boston, and it was a building that was built for displaying the diorama for the Civil War. There was some big
interesting.
painting that was like in the round, and this main building, the main room, is maybe 200 feet across. It's this big
Okay,
circle, and the painting it
yeah,
was built for the painting. The painting would go all the way around. Um, and so it was this massive painting, you know, 20 feet tall by must
wow,
be, you know, 400, 500 feet long, and super detailed. And so that was what it was built for. And then it was empty or just nobody using it for a long time. And then more recently, it's become an events place. But they don't have internet, or at least last time
wow,
we set this up, they don't have any sort of internet, no network at all to
wow.
that place. And so to set it up, we had to have a vendor come in and set up a dish that would on the roof point
Gotcha,
to the Prudential Tower, and that's where the uplink was, and a
gotcha.
microwave dish.
I was about to
Um,
say, yeah, it sounds like
and
point-to-point microwave.
God,
Yeah.
it was,
Not that
and
I
so
ever want to do that again, but I've done it
and
before.
so we
Yeah,
paid, you know, $60,000, $70,000 for this
yeah.
setup, and the next year we had to pay it again to set it all up again because like, and we'd say, well, can we just give you
Leave
this
it.
setup
Yeah,
and
yeah.
leave it here? It's like, nope, we don't. But nobody, whoever holds conferences, you're the only one that wants internet. Why? How can that be true?
Yeah, how is this possible? Fair.
Um, so yeah,
Uh, Other than that, I've been playing around a lot with Gen AI tools. I don't know if you've done any of that
yeah, I mean,
working
I've heard of that. Yeah,
just a
uh,
little bit.
yeah,
Uh, so I have finally been playing with Obsidian.
Uh-huh.
as a. Have you heard of the term second brain? I know this is
Yep.
like it's an
Yep.
overloaded term. I think Karpati just had a tweet, so everybody like glommed
Oh,
on
okay.
this term.
Yeah.
But it's essentially like a wiki for your LLM agent. And
Yeah.
the issue I'm having is that I keep spidering the web for these 1,000 plus integrations that Datadog has. Like I just want to know
Hmm. Hmm.
what they are,
Right.
what company
Yep.
are they tagged? Like, can I play with
Yep.
any of them? Can I set this up on my own? Like all this stuff. As a
Yep.
DevRel engineer, let's put a title on that for a
Yeah.
second. I feel like a lot of what I'm trying to do is set up a demo of some like X plus Datadog, and
Hmm.
then what? Could be Amazon or could be Azure, for example. Most of my career at Datadog was like Azure plus Datadog. Then what?
Yep.
And I'm just trying to go through all the integrations. When I first joined the company, I made a map of, I think there's 600 of them at the
Hmm.
time, and just like put X's on the ones that I was interested in. And then quickly realized that like a year later, 2 years later, I've been here 6.5 years at this point in time, and they keep getting bigger and bigger. I think we're up to 1,200 now. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on this. If you
I
count
remember
like the
when we were
external
super excited when
stuff,
we hit 40.
right?
Yeah. Like,
Right.
oh my God, we have 40 integrations. It's incredible.
And okay, so some of me is thinking, this is me, the person. We'll cover the Datadog a little bit here for a second. As a person, when I was looking at Datadog back in the day, this would be 2008, I think, is when I was looking at
Hmm.
Datadog originally, maybe 2009. The question I had was, like, this does cool stuff, but can I
Hmm.
use it with the things that I have? And at the
Right.
time, I was running a fantastic monitoring solution that will probably survive the test of time, Nagios and Cacti.
Yep.
I'd say fantastic, a little bit, a little bit sarcastically, but honestly,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good solution. There's a lot of cool tech in there. You can learn a lot about in terms of both of them. And I got to thinking, like, if I was going to pick a different piece of software now, maybe a
Yeah.
CRM or HRIS. I don't know if anyone's have to do with HR information
Hmm.
systems, or like maybe you're looking at like a CRM would be like, imagine Salesforce, something like that. It could be something else. If you're trying to come up with these solutions, or come up with this vendor, or maybe have you ever done one of those vendor spreadsheets where you've got like features on one side and you're
Hmm.
checking all the boxes, and well,
And nobody
in that
uses the same
list,
language. So you
of
can't.
course not,
Yeah.
because they want to be checked off in a
Yeah.
spot that nobody else is. So you invent words
Right.
and you say like, we've got ultra AI
Yeah.
engineering. If no one else does ultra, then like, why even bother? In that list of stuff at the time would be like, does it integrate with my tools? Could it
Hmm.
use Workday? Can I use Gmail with this?
Hmm.
What if I brought Microsoft Teams? Oh, but we're looking to move to Slack. Like, can you use both of
Right.
those in the interim? That kind of stuff. And what I started looking at was other companies that are doing this. Like, I don't want to say like Plan or Scam or anything like that,
Right.
because this is useful
Yeah.
stuff. But also, if I'm picking a tool, I want to pick the tool that integrates with the one that I use. So I started
Right.
looking at companies that have similar constellations
Yeah.
of integrates with across a bunch of tools. And what I found is that this seems to be like a playbook, basically. And maybe I missed it. Like, maybe this has been a playbook and I missed it for years. But what's interesting is to see who they integrate with and what's different between them. I don't have any
Mm.
conclusions here. I'm still making this massive graph. Um, what I will say, though, because I think I'm at like 600,000 ish, almost a million data points. If you put Obsidian into graph animate mode, it will animate the graph
Mm.
building. And
Yeah.
it is so fun to watch. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like the game of life,
Yeah.
because the algorithm they've got to expand it is actually,
Yeah.
it's almost like an organic growth algorithm. So
Yeah.
so it grows in a really cool. It's like watching a petri dish.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can't recommend this enough. So if you like watching paint dry, I feel like as you're importing stuff into Obsidian, watching the graph is actually pretty
Yeah.
fun too. I'm working on something where I can talk a little bit
And I,
about
I think that's
visualizing
the
this. Yep.
feature
Go ahead.
that most people who have used Obsidian for a long time,
Hey,
most people will agree it is the most worthless feature in Obsidian.
right,
Yeah.
right, because
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with
No
your data.
value. Yeah.
Has It has a lot. It has a lot of
I mean,
value
the
outside of
local
Obsidian.
graph, just the local
Yeah,
graph where you can have just how are things related to this document I've got open, but not
yeah.
the global graph.
Yeah. Even the local graph itself, like if it's not pruned or
Yeah.
tagged properly,
Yeah.
it's not useless, but it needs a lot actually. And
Yeah.
as you add documents, like you end up with a lot of links, and it
Yeah.
becomes very important. What I've noticed though is that if you give an LLM access to the graph, it can prune it for you and figure out where you need tags and categories and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And even though like I'm a very visual person. So when I look at a graph of knowledge, I can kind of tell like if it's grouped properly.
Right.
Like if it's a big circle, chances are you haven't subdivided it. If there's
Yeah.
stuff, if there's stray points, and they obviously haven't been linked, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But the visual view, surprise to me, was you could give it to a model like ChatGPT or Claude, and it would actually prune your graph for you, which I thought was
Mm.
fantastic and resulted in an actual better
Yeah.
knowledge base that the LLM could then use because it's categorized properly a
Yeah.
lot better. For example, my mistake, mea culpa here. I started a BSD Goose graph by mistake and put everything under
Mm.
BSD Goose because I was just
Uh-huh.
trying to see if Goose would run on BSD just for fun, you know. And there might have been a couple Linux vulnerabilities announced recently. Again, I'm not saying don't use Linux, but I have been
Right.
saying BSD warrants a second look. Anyway, so I was just trying to port Goose to it, and I started off making a small graph about what I was doing, and then realized quickly that it related to the whole graph itself. And I had Claude go in and prune and rename things, and I thought like, oh, this is it. Like I made a backup. I was like, this it's gonna ruin it. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna delete stuff. It did such a good job that I feel like I should not be allowed to prune graphs anymore. Like it's way better than I am. Like imagine a word cloud. Did you remember word
Right.
clouds?
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
word clouds so much because they don't tell me anything.
Right.
Like the most useless. Anyway, the most useless diagram, but it feels like Gen AI can use those types of charts where things are bigger and in the center, and it's actually
Right.
easier, or say like, hey, look around the edges, and
Yeah.
and like they should be bigger around the edges. What's missing? Like I know AWS has more integrations than this. It should be a really big
Right.
circle. That kind of poking and prodding works
Yeah.
really well. Anyway, it feels like talking to a business analyst some of the time or a
Mm-hmm.
researcher, which I'm liking as somebody
Yeah.
who maybe prides themselves on doing pretty good research. It turns out that I can research a lot better with an AI
Mm.
companion. And I will say, like, I'm so sorry, I haven't used much of Obsidian other than the graph.
Yeah.
But I totally understand that the graph, like the purpose I'm using the graph for, is probably not what you should be using Obsidian
Right.
for. The graph feels like a speedometer, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
like a sniff test to tell you
Yeah.
whether or not the data you're putting in is related properly.
Sure.
It's no more than that. Like it's really not usable after about like 100 or 200 points, unfortunately.
Right.
Sorry, rant over. Obsidian's awesome. I will use the rest of it. Right
Yep.
now, my agents are using it, and they seem to love
Yeah.
it as a memory.
Yeah.
Compared to like Quadrant, which I'm still
Yeah.
using, but is harder, it seems, to get data out
Right.
of.
You're the first person I've heard that calls it quadrant rather than quadrant.
I think it is Quadrant. I had to do some
Sure.
research recently
Sure.
because I was
Okay.
using it so much. Yeah. But it's written
Yeah.
Quadrant.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be
Yeah.
nice to the devs. I'm pretty sure that's what they want to be called.
The other one that I like hearing different people pronounce it. You know, there's Noose Research, and I've heard the people who are in that group,
It's new.
and say, you know, whether it's new and it's like, oh no, it's Noose.
What?
The people inside the group. It's like it was kind of a funny thing that they did, and so Hermes agent is not Hermes. It's Hermes.
It's not Hermes?
No, it's Hermes. According to the, I
I'm
can't
putting an
remember which
accent on
one.
that.
So it is Noose Research, and it is Hermes, not.
Ah,
I mean, and there's some people like, oh yeah, well, let me get the
listen,
French.
I think they're wrong.
It's
If
Noose.
it's Claude and not, how would an English people say Claude?
Claude.
If it's not Claude,
I mean, I would say Claude.
that's a French word, and that's the French way to pronounce
Well,
it. So
that's the only way to pronounce
everything
it.
should be French. Everything should be French now. So it's got to be Hermes and new research. If
Hermes.
Claude's the thing. ChatGPT. It's the cat version of ChatGPT.
Or on there was an episode of Saturday Night Live, and they kept saying Hermans instead of Hermes.
Hermes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Herman, like with an N at the end.
Oh,
Hermans.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for copyright reasons. It's
Yeah.
just hard to say. Have you played with Hermes?
I have.
Okay. Thoughts?
I set it up and I was using it, and then I haven't used it.
Okay. I have forked it, downloaded the source, and looked at the source
Mm,
5 times and still have not run it.
uh-huh.
I just feel like I'd rather write my own. I think we're talking about slop porting or
Yeah.
slop forking. Have you heard of this before? It feels to me that Hermes is made to be slop forked. Like
Yeah.
just fork it and make your own.
Yeah.
It's very opinionated. It supports a whole bunch of connections.
Yep.
And every one of those connections I would want to jettison
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Don't need Telegram. Don't need
No.
any of these capabilities. Please go away.
Yeah.
But the rest of it seems cool. It's got memory,
Yep.
it's got a schedule, and it's got, there's one more thing, caching. So it supports
Yep.
those three things out of the box, and it also supports a goal slash a slash
Right. Yep.
goal
Yep.
command, which, not for nothing, is pretty handy to have a
Yeah.
loop that runs until you achieve a goal.
Yeah.
Which is, listen, it took two of these Agent Foundries, I don't know, a year and a half to get
Yeah.
that working after Ralph Loop. So I think that's pretty cool.
I'm still I know that relying on one of these services like OpenClaw or Hermes
Mhm.
to automate things is just not the way to. I mean, it's when you can offload so much of the model's work to something, to a workflow engine like N8N
Right,
or something else.
right.
Um, yeah, I mean, because so many people who are like signing up for Ollama Cloud, they're running out of running out of the service,
Really?
even on
What?
Macs, and they're not
I
doing a
find that
whole lot.
super hard to believe.
And
As
yet,
someone who honestly abused the
yeah,
heck out of Llama Cloud, I find that super hard to believe.
yeah, I know, because they are just doing so many things so badly.
Wow.
Um, it's frustrating to
So I think
watch.
in your case, similar to the LLM that I was talking about, like I don't want to do a search multiple times because it
Right.
feels like I'm just wasting money, wasting
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
wasting everyone's time because I've already
Yeah.
done that search. It feels like a lot of things we've already got answers for.
Yeah.
My voice is cracky here because, like, it just because you have a new hammer does not mean that the
Yeah.
old wrench does not work. And it
And having
feels
to
like a lot,
refigure out. I mean, because
like
these
for
people
first
are
principles.
basically creating, creating a document, a markdown document describing this process that they should
Right,
do every day at
right.
8 a.m. And now you're having the model figure it out. Okay, how do I wonder how I collect all this information. Let me
Hmm.
process through this every single morning. Or you've
Hmm.
got this heartbeat that's running every 30 minutes or whatever. And you can blow
Hmm.
away all your tokens in, just on that heartbeat.
Hmm.
Um, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Even just checking Perplexity's top 10
Mm-hmm.
list every day in the tech science section
Yeah.
takes like a
Yeah.
fair amount of my
Yeah.
usage from like the Claude Max, the Max plan.
Right.
It's non-trivial basically. So
Yeah.
there's 31 days in a month. You're talking
Yep.
like a million tokens probably every time you're doing it.
Yeah.
So you're talking about like easily 30 million tokens a month just to check something that's already an RSS feed that can already give you. Anyway, I realized this later that I'd set up
Yeah.
for a month and realized like I can already just make this a task and have it work. It's fine. And if you find N8N complicated to set up or difficult to approach, I've actually found LLM agents are pretty good at explaining how
Mm-hmm.
N8N works or just running it for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite good. Or
Yeah.
if you don't know what should be a task and what should be an
Yeah.
LLM task, I have also found ChatGPT is
Yeah.
pretty good at like giving you a pros and cons list and then mocking up costs. I don't know if it's that good at cost, but it can
Mm-hmm.
mock up the cost, which I
Yeah.
thought was pretty interesting.
One thing I've been using some of these tools for more recently has just been around. Um, I have I make videos and
Really?
not as often as I'd like
Are they
to,
any
but
good?
and sometimes I have this initial concept, but having fleshing it out from that initial concept to something
Yeah.
more substantial is, I mean, that's probably the hardest part. I mean, everything else about making a video is relatively easy. I've done it enough times but that
Right.
is, it's new every time, and it's a lot of work. Um, and just asking the model to whatever I'm how am I doing it more recently, uh but basically just having it to um uh ask me questions about what I have
Hmm.
here, and to help me flesh it out, to find emotional connections, interesting stories. And so I like answer, it gives me three questions. I answer one of those questions or two of those questions. And then, it looks at everything I have so far and it says, okay, well, how about this? What do you think about? And it like helps me. And all of a sudden, within,
Mm.
2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, I have much more, a better story fleshed
Hmm.
out, and it's incredible. And it's just such a simple process, that you don't need a super high end model to do. You can do that with even a 6 month old model or a year old model, and it works amazingly well. That was my most recent uh, excite, exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the video that I watched recently, but I think Anthropic officially came out with like a workflow that they recommend,
Hmm.
and it's something like brainstorm, plan,
Okay, yeah,
prompt, repeat, something like that. The reason it stuck in my mind is because there was a step before plan. Because normally I'd
yeah,
say like, here's the info, go plan.
right,
And I think what they're saying is you could probably plan better than that, and that's
yeah,
fair. Because a lot of times I am doing the same thing you're saying. It's like, just here's what I got,
yeah,
figure it out. And they're like,
yeah,
that's okay, but also you could say
yeah,
like, I'm trying to do this. Like you
yeah,
just said, like my goal is this.
yeah,
What can we do with this? And it feels like we're getting towards a workflow that might be generic enough that it could work across different providers or like a different workflows or what have you. We're just not there yet. Like I've
yeah.
been playing a lot with I'll admit it. So I had this great idea, Matt, and in the history of great ideas, I mean, it probably wasn't a great idea. So I like a shower thought. Maybe it was a walk thought. I thought, what if I could put an MCP server on the iPhone and use the iPhone sensors? Like, the why? Don't think about why. The why is probably I have a new iPhone and realize that the LLM inference on this phone is actually pretty terrible, which we'll get to
Yeah,
in a second. So I made an app with an MCP server and then pointed my agent at the phone, and it could do things like check barometric pressure. Or
right,
there's a
right.
bunch of sensors on the iPhone that are
Oh
maybe
yeah,
handy,
yeah.
probably not. What I found out though in doing the inference part of this exercise is tool calling is non-trivial. And there's this guy, Matt,
Mm.
who told me 2 years ago that the tool calling is like, man, he's full of it. I don't know, Claude does tool calling really well. When you're trying to make your own tool
Mm-hmm.
calls with an agent that's smaller,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually very difficult. And
Yeah,
some of it is, uh, especially with a reasoning model, it feels like they reason about the tool calling so
yeah.
much that they're like, they don't do the call and don't
Right,
return an answer. And that's
right.
currently what I'm like fighting smaller Quen models on
Yeah,
is like, how do you like give this, because it needs memory actually, but it
yeah.
doesn't need fast memory. So do you write it to disk? And like, I don't know, actually. I'm still working through this problem.
Mm.
But the long and the short of it is, I think we're treating ChatGPT and Claude interchangeably and as like a false dichotomy. Like there's a lot more
Mm.
out there, and it's actually pretty exciting when you
Right.
look at what else is out there. And these workflows do work for those two tools, but it feels like the workflow might be different elsewhere.
Right.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is it would be a shame if we decide to change DeepSeek or Quen or Kimi to work that way when there might be a different way in mind. So it might be I don't know, plan, prompt, code, repeat, or
Mm-hmm.
like maybe with a mixture of agents, like what, or mixture of experts. Why don't I
Mm-hmm.
send multiple things out at the same time? Like I know just
Right.
enough. What can I do? Anyway, it feels like there's different model architectures, which I also found by like, I, I thought I was really smart. Like, hey, we'll just take this, what was it, try attention, and we'll just apply it to every model we can. And it turns out like models are made differently. Who knew? Like they all
Mm.
have different compositions, and some of the techniques that you're using that like literally won't work in this. I
Right.
think Optic is what I was initially looking at, because Optic does a bunch of MLX cool stuff on models, and they seem to work really well. How are they doing it? No idea. Let's figure it out. And it turned out that their techniques don't apply to every model.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry. Long story short, it feels like we're getting towards a workflow that works, and it might
Right.
just be plan, code, reiterate, but it seems like that might be different depending on the model. And though it
Uh,
applies to ChatGPT and Claude, I don't think it applies everywhere.
have you looked at Matt Pocock's skills repo?
I think that's where I know him from, actually,
Yeah,
and I forget which one I stole.
like the
Sorry,
grill
not
with
stole, but
docs, grilled with
yes, yes, yes.
docs, or grill
Grill
me.
with Docs is exactly,
Yeah,
yes. So he had a video that came out on
yeah,
YouTube last week, I think, called Grill with
yeah.
Docs. I'm so sorry. It's
So great.
exactly it's
Yeah,
like, as a proper thief, I forgot where I
yeah,
stole the stuff from in the first place.
yeah.
But yes, why don't you tell the audience what Grill with Code is? Because I thought this is actually something that, again,
You
is like a
you
workflow that
you
you could
seem
easily
to
do.
remember more the details than I do, so you go for it.
So what I did was I watched a minute of the video and realized I don't need to watch this whole thing. I can go steal the skill, which is
Yeah,
literally what I
yeah.
did. So I'll tell you what the gist I got out of it was he had a skill. Um, I'm trying to think. He had an original skill
Grill me.
that worked. Yeah, thank you. Grill me, which was the big. And maybe Matt, you just kind of gave it away, but the big thing is don't make assumptions. Ask me questions before you
Yeah,
proceed. I think is like the big
yeah,
aha moment. Sorry. And I think what Matt was saying, I might have actually watched the first video, but what he was saying is like your agents are confident in their corpus. So they've got a corpus and they think they know it really well.
mm-hmm.
And like maybe they do. Maybe they do know it really well. But before reaching for a web search or even asking me a question, because they're confident, they'll just steamroll ahead. And
Right,
Matt's aha moment was like, one, the corpus cutoff date is going to be different than today, like straight up.
right,
So there's going to be like, and most of the system prompts I think have today's date for a reason. The assumption is that the model should look from a recent date. The truth is it just doesn't do that. And often if asked what today is, we'll mess up. So Matt was like, okay, before proceeding, why don't you ask me some questions? Or grill me about what you think, like grill me about the veracity of the thing that we're like the premise,
right.
why we should even start this work. Like, should we do this work, Matt?
Yeah,
And I think the next skill that he came out of, and I was lost at grill me, so I was like, yeah, let's do
yeah.
this, let's do this. Uh, I think it's grill the docs, right? Is the skill that you
Grill with
recently
docs.
grill with docs? Yeah. So it's like it's not rag, but it looks like rag. So
Yeah,
imagine you can, and I'm going to say poison here is not really the right term, but imagine you could poison the context or add things into the context to sort of sway or veer the agent into the right direction, is my understanding.
mm-hmm.
And then grill me is what I understood. So it's like grill me plus docs or grill me plus markdown is what I took out of it, which might not be the
Yeah.
case. But grill me plus markdown is what I took out of the combo.
And then I was looking around for the the other skill that was really interesting, but I see
Okay.
now it's listed under deprecated. I thought it was still one of his main ones, ubiquitous language.
Oh, interesting.
And so it was like finding, you might have different ways of defining the same thing. And so just coming up with what is the core way of explaining whatever topic you're trying to explain in the docs. And you might explain it with one term in one place and a different term in a different place. So come up with that main. So I don't know why it's deprecate. There must be another one that's um,
Yeah. This is actually a
really,
really cool skill.
yeah.
Interesting. And this kind of reminds me, not to be too self-serving here, it reminds me of something I've been thinking about a lot, which is like if you want to come up with a new skill name,
Mm-hmm.
how do you make it so that it's like
Mm,
unique, basically? And it's not like a big aha moment or anything like that, but how would you, what would that look like? Yeah. Like what
yeah.
would that one skill be? I think I talked
Random
a little bit
verb,
about,
random noun.
yeah, like if you're at oh shoot, who haven't we insulted today? Microsoft, and you're coming up with a new CLI tool.
Hmm.
Maybe it's called PowerShell. It like that's rational. The
Yeah.
funny thing is though, I've found PowerShell does not, like LLM agents and PowerShell do not get along. LLM agents in the CMD
Mm.
are like it's next level actually, but it
Hmm.
seems like I don't know if it's PowerShell is too many tokens or something, but like it seems to get PowerShell wrong a lot of times.
Mm.
Or we'll try to use DOS commands in PowerShell, which most
Hmm.
of the time have aliases, but don't always. It's
Right.
it's very confusing.
Right.
Anyway, it seems like the bimodal function of PowerShell confuses agents right
Yeah.
now. But if you're doing anything on Windows, this has been my tip for the day. Tell it to like default it to CMD for the command line, and it will be amazing. Actually, it's like it's got 30 years of experience in
Yeah.
DOS. It's actually like impressively good at DOS. Anyway, sorry, I'm ranting here, but I do like PowerShell. I'm actually a PowerShell fan. I just don't right now, I don't see the utility with LLM agents. But what I came here today, Pat, to talk to
I
you
still
is about
prefer the name they had before PowerShell,
what was that?
Monad.
Oh yeah, I think everybody does. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good old Microsoft taking like
Yes.
a standard term and reusing it for something else. Today, I
Well,
wanted to talk about
I
how.
think that name
Yeah,
came before they acquired that team.
correct,
So,
correct. Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about how irresponsible I am with money, or maybe
oh
how
yeah,
broke I am,
yes,
and how I get
yes. Tell
broker.
me what you bought.
So last time we were talking about laptops and Mac Minis and Mac Studios. It turns out one there's lead times on stuff, and I know
Mm-hmm.
yours you said would arrive earlier. And listen, I'm not made of money. I broke my camera, which I may have talked about on the podcast, but like when I went to
Oh,
New
what did
York,
you do? Which
something
one?
was pushing this A7R5. So
Okay,
the nice one, the one I
okay.
use like two, three, four
Not the
times a week.
GR3 or whichever you have.
Oh no, I broke two of those. We can talk
Okay,
about
great.
those. I've got two broken GR3s on my counter. They break very easily, it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm good with my gear, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So the A7R5, the LCD screen, I think had something pushing against the back of it during the trip, and even if it was in something padded, and as a result has like a part on the screen. It's like you just can't see past it. It's like it's obvious and it's awful.
Mm.
So Sony announced an A7R6, and again, not smart with my money. I signed up to the pre-order. They haven't charged me yet, but I know it's going to happen eventually. And the key, Matt, here, the real key, as a Canadian, the real key is I could not order from B&H or BH Photo
Mm-hmm.
because they wouldn't ship to Canada. No
Hmm.
harm, no foul. Totally get it.
Okay.
So instead, I went to Adorama, who there's a couple things that are going to bite me in the bum here in the future. So future self will have these issues. Uh, One is the exchange rate was not great at the time of
Hmm.
purchase. In fact, it was dismal at the time of purchase. So the U.S. dollar was up, the Canadian dollar was down, and I'm not going to say I'd have to pay double, but like it looked like close to double.
Wow.
The other is I didn't realize that it came with a battery. Who knew
Okay.
cameras come with batteries these days? And when it crosses the border, the battery has to be like there's a little bit more inspection that has to happen. So they're
Mm.
going to, because the battery's country of origin is not the United
Mm-hmm.
States, they're going to open the box and go through it, blah 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 blah.
All right.
Again, not the end of the world, but it's going to cost me a fair amount
Yeah.
of money to do so. So yeah, the other thing is, and this is maybe like a for smaller thing, they changed the battery, which is cool.
Hmm.
Also, I've got 4 batteries for the A7R5,
Yeah.
and I'll probably have to buy more for the A7R6. Not
Well,
the end of the world, but here we are.
one thing I was thinking of batteries. One thing I noticed
Mhm.
on the so Panasonic just came out with a new lower end
Right,
nice
L10.
camera L10,
Yeah,
kind of micro four thirds ish, but not a removable lens. But it's the same battery as what's on the S1 S52X S. I mean, so I
nice.
have the S52X. It
Those are
would
good
be the
batteries,
same
though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I think even the GH, what was
Mhm.
most recent GH one is 7 or 8. Um, so I mean that was I remember before when I went from the GX1 to the GH1 to the GH2 to the GH3 to
All different
GH4.
batteries.
They
Yeah,
were all
yeah.
different batteries. Um, and even the Nikons, I mean, they were actually the Nikons. Well,
Pretty
for a
good.
long time, the
They keep
Nikons,
revising them.
yeah, I
Is
mean,
the
they were
issue.
all double
Yeah.
A's on for the in the battery
You could
in
still
the
get
winder.
AA battery backs for them, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But I do think in the case of Panasonic, the thing that really rubbed me the wrong way is that Panasonic makes some of the best AA batteries you could buy, as
Hmm.
far as I know, the Eneloops. And I would assume that they can make like a good battery pack for all the cameras that do it. And maybe this is where I was wrong, is that like just because you
Hmm.
can make nickel metal hydride batteries, which I think are the
Right.
Eneloops, doesn't mean you can make, are they NiCad now, or I
Lithium.
can't remember
Yeah.
they're lithium. Yeah, lithium ion. Thank you.
Yeah.
The lithium ion batteries are completely different tech. So chances
Right.
are they're outsourcing this and trying to figure
Yeah.
it out over the years. But my understanding is the S12 batteries were actually really good,
Yeah.
like 800 super rated shots or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a good session. Yeah. So
I am
that's
not
I guess
tempted
no
for
more.
any cameras. I do not need another
That's fair.
camera at the moment.
You look pretty enough, Matt. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
People want to hear that sound of your voice. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
This is why we tell you to use the right microphone before podcasts.
Yes.
So you didn't go out and buy a camera. What did the
I
burning?
bought I bought a
Yeah.
new laptop and it
Oh no.
arrived, and I'm very excited. One thing that is, I mean, it's off right now. Well, I guess it's on. It's the nano texture display.
I saw that when you're on the side. Yeah, it looked
Oh,
nice.
that is fantastic.
Yeah,
I have that on the iPad, and I can't imagine not getting something with that on it. It's just
I hear you.
so great.
And you went for M5?
I went M5 Max,
Okay,
128 gig RAM, and 4 terabyte.
nice,
So
nice.
yeah.
Well, listen, I've got some OMLX benchmarks to send your way because my AI got mad at me and told me I needed an M5 last week, and I was like, "We just had this combo." But I think my understanding is, according to Claude, the memory bandwidth is way higher on the M5s than the M4s, and
Yeah,
it becomes like a market. So tokens per sec, it's going to be
yeah.
way faster. KB cache, reading, writing is going to be way faster as well. Which is
So
sweet.
so one thing on the different runners,
Hmm.
so Ollama in the next version 0.30, I don't, at some point they're going to bump it up to
Go to
version
one.
1, but
Yep.
it's 0.30, and it is going back to using um Llama.cpp
No way.
as the runner for GGUF
Wow.
models.
Yeah.
um I mean, the whole thing was created when there was less uh for a while, Ollama was, pushing, doing PRs to Llama CPP,
Mhm.
and the relationship was good. And then for some
Mhm.
reason it soured, and they were being very quiet, and it looked like the project was kind of dying off. And so
Mhm.
Ollama created their own engine. It was like, okay, we got to move forward. And they're stalling on things, so let's just build our own thing. And it didn't work as well as they had hoped.
Right.
Um, and so now, and then, Llama CP all of a sudden got more popular again,
Mhm.
and started moving along. And then um, and so now they're rolling back to using Llama CPP in Ollama. But one of the common, so I loaded up version 0.30, and I also
Mhm.
loaded up Llama CPP because, like, okay, let me actually see
Yeah. Yeah.
how different they are.
Right.
And I couldn't get any models to run. I kept hearing, oh, well, Llama CPP is just so much faster. It's like, no, it's not. It is pretty much dead on for um, the same speed as Ollama,
Right.
unless you're on MLX, and then it's so. I mean, like the getting the comparable model on Llama CPP, I was getting 40, 50 tokens per
Mhm.
second, and for that same model but running on MLX on Ollama, it was more like 80 to 90 tokens per second,
Right.
and it was like this massive difference.
Right.
um and then yeah, anyway, I don't know if I should make that video because it'll make it it's like, oh, the
I,
Ollama
I
guy
I
says
would do
Ollama's
it.
better.
Yeah, I would do it because I think there's more players now.
Yeah,
What is it? There's MLX LM, is that right? Or LM hyphen MLX. There's Ollama's MLX, and then
yeah,
there's OMLX. Those are all
yeah.
different things. And then there are multiple forks of
There's
Llama CPP.
yeah,
I'm sure you're aware of, and I think in some cases, for like the AMD side, it makes
right,
more sense to use the actual like there or
yeah,
Intel, maybe Intel and AMD. It makes more sense to use like the actual
right,
limited CPP, but it's a complicated matrix of testing
yeah,
basically. And I would say only somebody with your deep connections to the
right, right,
industry would have access to the hardware to be able to
yeah.
test this lot. Do you still have that was an ARM box or something like that was out there?
There was a box that I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried it in at least a year, so I probably don't have access to it
Fair
anymore. But
enough,
it
fair
was
enough.
it was a machine with 8 H100s.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'd
Um,
say You'd want to benchmark it. The other problem is
Yeah.
like these are non-deterministic, and people benchmark things once or twice.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not enough either.
Yeah.
But I think I was doing 3 tests because I'm using a work computer honestly to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what I can do for some things. We released Toto version 2, by the way. That's what I was
Toto?
testing. Toto is like a time series model.
Hmm.
It's massive. Not sure if you knew.
I didn't
There are
know.
3 now, I think. There's Times FM from Google, there's Chronos from Amazon, and then there's Toto from Datadog.
Hmm.
We will tell you we're faster than everybody else, but obviously have a we've released our own benchmarks, which of course put us at the top of the list, of course, of
Huh.
course. But that's what I was testing, and I was looking at model architecture basically, and it turns out there's actually quite a few forks of Llama.cpp, and testing quote unquote Llama.cpp to test speed is non-trivial. As a result, you have
Right.
to kind of pick like whatever fork you need, and this is like 3 weeks ago, so I'm assuming this is still rather
Yeah.
current. But it's I think I would watch that video because I'm in that
Yeah.
space right now trying to figure out how to eke out the best basically, and some of it is like maybe it's bin packing problem like Kubernetes. Like if I've got this much GPU left over, could I
Right.
run another model in that space? And that's a very difficult question to answer
Right.
these days, especially depending on the model, if it's mixture of experts or not,
Mm-hmm.
or like some of them are like really RAM heavy up front and less so in the end, or something like that. And some of them are backwards. I
Yeah.
found as well, like just in terms of the footprint that they have on your GPU. So it's like sometimes you could run 2 things at the same time because you know they're going to swap off.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's non trivial. I would
Yeah.
definitely watch that video. And I think there's a way you can make it in like a non-confrontational
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Whether or not you do that
Yeah.
is up to you, Matt. But
So what? Slightly different, but we've got
Yep.
just a few minutes. So I've got this new
Sorry.
machine. I'm
Yeah.
going to it. Get it all going the way I want.
Mhm.
But one thing I always struggle with is remembering, well, setting it up and then remembering I set it up in a certain way, to use,
Right.
let's say with Python, using UV versus
Mhm.
whatever else. For Node, using NPM versus PNPM versus Bun versus whatever else.
Mhm.
How do you have a good process on like
Mhm.
remembering, well, which of the major, do you document how you set up your machine, and do you review that documentation?
I generally have dot files, and I do have a repo.
Okay.
Everyone can go look at the dot files that I stole from somebody a long time ago, that I used to keep up to date. And each of my computers will have dot files. Typically, I like to standardize on dot profile. I will admit a lot of times it ends up in dot
Yeah.
ZSHRC, like for whatever shell I'm using, if it's
Right.
bash RC or whatever, but normally ends up in an RC file. But my profile typically will have most of the stuff in there, as well as notes. The notes, it turns out, are like really important. Like
Yeah.
this is why I added this line, because I will
Yeah.
forget why I
I,
added that line.
I was
Like this
thinking
is why
about
I'm using
adding,
exa instead of ls. Like do you do
right.
that? Do you swap out commands
Yeah,
here
oh,
too? I'm like,
absolutely. I mean, I
why
use
am I using this
Exa, and
command?
then
Yeah,
Exo
exactly.
Exa was a replacement for LS, but then there was something else between Exa and LS. So like
Yes,
Eva or some other E something
right.
A that died off.
Eza. I had to
Eza.
Google it because I
Okay.
forgot. Eza, exactly.
But yeah, I was thinking about like for each of the commands, whether it's npm or p, I got to choose. I probably,
Mhm.
since it's a new machine, go with pnpm, and I should probably set up
You,
a,
you know about Shai Hulud, right? You have to use PMPM.
yeah. I mean
Okay,
that's
it's just for those of
um
you listening, Shai Hulud's a thing. Don't use
so,
npm right
and
now
that
for
that
package
was
management.
mostly about not installing packages that are newer than 2 days or 3 days. Was that the gist of it?
Yeah, my understanding is that npm didn't have that rule engine, and
Yeah,
this is where the note people can get me up in the comments, whereas pnpm did. And
yeah,
it's not like npm won't forever. I think they're trying to do so,
yeah,
but that was I think the main recommendation for everybody was like
yeah.
basically hold off on new versions for a little bit, and the mechanism to hold off is this in pnpm. I'm not sure if that's something that's the same
So
in npm.
what I was thinking of doing was,
Mhm.
for setting up, like a script as a front end for PNPM, and
Right.
alias it to NPM and to everything else,
Hmm.
so that I'm always using one thing,
Hmm.
PNPM, but also have it so that when I run an install, it also captures, why am I installing this? Like, what's the reason, and and
Yes.
saving that documentation somewhere, whether it's in Obsidian or in, as you
Right.
say, a profile with a a
Like
comment,
notes or whatever. Yeah.
just something that, so I, because there's all sorts of stuff that I install. I You go through. I was going through Brew and just listing out the things that I've installed with
Yeah,
Brew, and
that's what I was thinking of. Like I
I
definitely don't have
I've got
notes for my
like
brew taps.
NNN and BRoot and all these other kind of file managery kind of things,
Right.
because I'm always looking for the best one. But now I've
Of
got like
course.
40 of them, and I don't remember what's different about any of them. I don't know which one I should be using. So documenting would be, I think, one of the big things. I mean, of course, I'm going to document it for like, I need to make sure that I don't have to go through an extra step, because I want it to just record.
Uh,
I don't want it to. I don't want to have to remember to do it, because if I have to remember to do it, then I'll have 2 weeks of documentation, and then the next 2 years I won't. I'll keep thinking, oh yeah, I should have done that.
I'm trying not to smile here, but it's difficult because like the advice we just gave, I feel like I'm gonna like retract it a little bit here. So don't use LLMs for trivial tasks. However, as you're like
Ah.
realizing how to like make it trivial, what I'm doing for the agent swarm is I'm using Ansible for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
and as I'm using Ansible, it's writing to the
Mm-hmm.
memory. It's quadrant basically saying like why we picked this project
Right.
because we have we the collective we and whatever agents are helping me out on the
Yeah.
day made bad decisions, like including suck less projects, which are fine,
Mm-hmm.
without updating my like license
Yeah.
guidelines. And because they're different, I think it's a suck less license. It's just totally different license. And
Suck
because it's
less.
not suck less, is it's suckless.org is the thing, and suck less is the license they use.
Hmm.
It's kind of like copyleft. It's like take this and shut up about it kind of thing.
Right.
This will go move away. But it's incompatible with BSD, MIT, Apache licenses. So other agents were like, no, we need to jettison this stuff really
Right.
quickly. I was like, well, we'll add a memory as to like why
Yeah.
we added the software. So now as I add things in, so I've been using, instead of core utils, like, again, trying to move away from GPL just because like I want to be in the up and up. I've been trying to use utils as a result. But if it doesn't know to use like that version of cat or that version of LS
Mm.
or like all those tools that I'm replacing, will absolutely reach for the core utils, which are GPL code, which is
Right.
again perfectly fine, but you need to like hint towards things. So what I
Mm-hmm.
realized was adding those memories as to like it's kind of like have you ever done like a decision log? But it feels kind of like a decision log
Yeah.
as opposed to an install log or like a
Yeah.
rationale log. It's more like a decision log for each one. So it's similar to what you're saying. It's not the
Yeah.
same. And then I think you could probably wrap brew with you'd alias brew with a shell wrapper that would
Yeah.
ask you, hey Matt, why are you installing this today?
Right.
Like similar
Right.
to like ask
Yeah.
me with your docs or grill me with docs. Yeah,
Right.
you want brew to
And
grill you every time you install something.
do it with a model to like help understand
Yeah,
why. Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure you could use like
Yeah.
Llama 3.1 or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd probably be fine.
So cool.
Okay, there we go.
Any was there anything else that we wanted to?
That's it, folks.
Yeah.
Protect your cameras. Don't break them. If you put them
Yeah.
in your pocket,
I
they
said
can die. If you put
I
them in
don't
your
know
bag, it can
how you
die.
can damage. I do not. I mean, I do not take care of anything that I buy. Like any, Panasonic gear, I just like I chuck it into a bag. I do not. I hate bags that have a lot of padding. I just have like no padding, and I just throw things in there. I throw a laptop in there. I do not take care of any, and nothing is ever broken. I don't know how people break stuff. I don't know how people have cracked
It,
screens.
well, it's not cracked. It's just been, if you push on your TV for too long, it's like permanently damaged.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. So I think what happened was I flipped the screen around backwards the way you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do it. I put it into a padded case, but I think I put the case between two things and something was just like jutting
Mm,
into it. I will say though, I had been warned about the GR3. It's a pocketable camera that does not
yeah.
belong in your pocket because it
Yeah.
collects dust every time it opens and closes. Would be the problem
Mm,
with the first one. It just won't turn on at all anymore. Apparently, it
mm,
just happens. And the second one I dropped on the ground and a ring fell off the front of it. It still works. It's completely
mm,
functional. It's just missing like the whole front of the camera. So it
mm.
looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I could take the front of the camera off the other one and just slap it on the first one, be fine. But I'd rather have a repair shop too with it. Yes, be careful with the cameras. For anyone who wants to buy my Sony A7R5, I have dropped it like 10, 20 times. So Matt's not
Yeah.
wrong. Like the cameras are meant to take a certain amount of abuse.
I,
Everything's been fine. But
I I was won over with the Panasonic system when with the GH1 I
Mhm.
was, right at the top of I think it's Victoria Peak or in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
there's that like it's one spot where like everyone has their tripod out and they're taking
Yep.
a picture of Hong Kong, and I was up there and I was getting things set up and I dropped my camera onto like the concrete floor. It just kind of bounced and like no big deal. Kept going.
Nice. This is the
It's like,
company that
okay.
makes a tough book series, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They got your back.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, I
All
got to
right.
go. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you
That
very
was
much,
fun.
folks.
All
Another
four,
great
five
stream.
people. No comments though. What was up
No
with that?
comments, but we had, I think we had 7 at peak. So thank you very
Okay.
much for watching. You don't need to comment every time, but we do appreciate you being here. Thank you very much, folks.
Okay. Alrighty. I'll find the finish button
Let's do
and
it.
broadcast.